final match was set for the next day. The entire galaxy would be watching. News feeds from thousands of worlds carried the same story. A human warrior from an unknown planet had reached the championship of the most prestigious combat tournament in known space. But Hyunwoo was not thinking about the galaxy. He was thinking about his grandfather. The old man had died 2 years before Hyunwoo left Earth. His last words were simple. "Remember, grandson, the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. But the wisest warrior knows when not to fight, at all." Hyunwoo had not understood what his grandfather meant at the time. Now facing the most dangerous opponent of his life, the words made perfect sense. Lummoth was not just the Theran champion, he was considered the greatest warrior in the galaxy. His energy-based body could change shape at will. His plasma attacks could melt through starship armor. Most importantly, he was intelligent and experienced. He had studied every second of Hyunwoo's tournament fights. "There is something you should know," Somin said as they prepared in the training room. "The Theran High Council has issued a statement. If Lummoth loses, they will consider it a threat to galactic security." "What does that mean?" "It means they might decide that Earth is too dangerous to exist." Hyunwoo stopped his warm-up exercises. "They would destroy my world because I won a tournament? They would destroy your world because you proved that humans can defeat their best warriors. If one human can do this, what could a million humans do? What could a billion?" The weight of responsibility settled on Hyunwoo's shoulders like a heavy cloak. He had come here to prove himself. Instead, he had put his entire species at risk. "There is another option," Somin continued quietly. "You could lose the final fight on purpose. Let Lummoth win. Go back to Earth and tell them you tried your best but were not strong enough." Hyunwoo considered this. It would be easy to lose. Lummoth was powerful enough to defeat him legitimately. No one would know it was intentional. But his grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. "A warrior who betrays himself betrays everything he stands for." "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "I will not dishonor my training or my people by surrendering. If Earth is to be judged, let it be judged by our best effort, not our worst." The arena was more crowded than it had ever been. Beings from across the galaxy had traveled to witness the final match. The betting was intense, but for the first time in tournament history, significant money was being placed on both fighters. In the VIP section, the most powerful leaders in known space watched with grave expressions. The outcome of this fight would determine how the galaxy viewed humanity. A species that could produce warriors capable of defeating galactic champions would need to be treated very carefully. The Theron delegation was the largest. Dozens of energy beings floated in a special section designed for their unique physiology. Their communications sounded like singing crystals as they discussed the implications of the fight. Lummoth and Hyunwoo met in the center of the arena. The Theran champion was beautiful and terrible to behold. His body was made of flowing blue energy that shifted and danced like liquid fire. His face was formed from concentrated light, with eyes like tiny stars. "I have studied your fighting style, human," Lummoth said, his voice like distant thunder. "You rely on exploiting weaknesses, but I have no weaknesses." "Everyone has weaknesses," Hyunwoo replied. "Even you." "Name one." Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment, then he said, "Pride." Lummoth's energy form flickered with what might have been anger. "I am the greatest warrior in galactic history. Pride is my right. Pride is what makes warriors lose fights they should win. My grandfather taught me that." The two fighters moved to opposite sides of the arena. The floor had been modified with special energy-resistant materials to withstand Lummoth's plasma attacks. "Championship match," the announcer called. "Lummoth of the Theron versus Hyunwoo of Earth. Fight to conclusion. Begin," Beltar shouted. Lummoth immediately raised his arms and unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts. Each one was hot enough to melt steel and fast enough to catch a speeding aircraft. They streaked across the arena like falling stars. Hyunwoo dove and rolled, the plasma bolts exploding against the arena wall behind him. The impacts left glowing craters in the reinforced metal. More plasma bolts followed. Lummoth's energy form, split into multiple arms, each one firing independently. The arena filled with deadly light as dozens of energy blasts sought their target. But Hyunwoo was already moving. He sprinted along the arena wall, using his human agility to change direction unpredictably. The plasma bolts followed him, but always arrived where he had been, not where he was. "You cannot run forever, human," Lumith called out. "I have unlimited energy." That was when Hyunwoo realized his opponent's weakness. It was not a physical weakness like the joint vulnerable spots he had exploited in other fights. It was a tactical weakness. Lumith was so confident in his power that he was wasting it. Every missed shot was energy that could have been used more carefully. The Theron champion was fighting like someone who had never needed to conserve resources. Humans, on the other hand, had always lived with limited resources. Hyunwoo's ancestors had learned to make every arrow count, every sword stroke matter. Efficiency was not just a tactic for humans. It was a way of life. For 10 minutes, Lumith filled the arena with plasma fire. The walls glowed red-hot from the impacts. The air itself began to shimmer from the heat, but every shot missed. Finally, Lumith paused his barrage. His energy form was dimmer than when the fight began. "Impossible," he muttered. "No being can move that fast for that long." "I am not moving fast," Hyunwoo replied, breathing hard but still mobile. "I am moving smart." He had been watching Lumith's attack patterns. The Theron warrior favored certain angles and timing. Like all fighters, he had habits, and habits could be exploited. Lumith resumed his attack, but this time he tried a different strategy. Instead of many small plasma bolts, he fired one massive beam that swept across the entire arena, like a searchlight of destruction. Hyunwoo dropped flat to the floor as the beam passed over him. The concentrated energy was so hot that it melted, the arena ceiling 40 feet above the floor. But while Lumith was focused on his sweeping attack, he was not watching the floor. Hyunwoo rolled quickly across the arena, closing the distance between them. When the energy beam finally stopped, Hyunwoo was only 10 feet away from the Theron champion. Lumith was shocked. No opponent had ever gotten so close to him during combat. His energy form flickered with surprise and the first hint of concern. "How did you cross the arena so quickly? While you were looking up, I was looking forward." Hyunwoo was breathing heavily now. The heat from the plasma attacks had turned the arena into an oven. Sweat poured down his face. "My grandfather taught me that the best time to advance is when your enemy is committed to a big attack." Lumith tried to back away, but Hyunwoo stayed close. At short range, the Theron's powerful energy attacks were dangerous to himself as well as his opponent. He could not use full power without risking his own injury. But Lumith had other abilities. His energy form began to change shape, growing, spikes and blades of concentrated plasma. If Hyunwoo touched him now, the contact would burn flesh from bone. "Now you cannot touch me, human. And at this distance, even my weakest attacks will kill you." Lumith was right. The fight had reached its critical moment. Hyunwoo was close enough to attack, but any contact would be fatal. He needed a new strategy. That was when he remembered his grandfather's final lesson. The wisest warrior knows when not to fight at all. Instead of attacking, Hyunwoo did something that amazed everyone watching. He sat down on the arena floor, just out of Lumith's reach, and began to wait. "What are you doing?" Lumith demanded, fighting like a human. "This is not fighting, this is nothing. Sometimes nothing is everything." The crowd was confused. Even the experienced warriors in the VIP section did not understand what they were seeing. Why had the humans stopped moving when victory seemed within reach? But a few of the oldest and wisest beings began to understand. The human was not giving up. He was forcing Lumith to make a choice. Lumith could maintain his spiked energy form, but it required constant concentration and energy. The longer he held it, the weaker he would become. But if he changed back to normal form to conserve energy, Hyunwoo could attack. Minutes passed. Lumith's energy form began to flicker as the strain of maintaining his deadly shape grew too much. His spikes became smaller. His plasma blades grew dimmer. "You are forcing me to waste energy," Lumith realized. "I am giving you a choice. Hyunwoo replied. Waste energy maintaining your defenses or drop them and fight me directly. And if I choose to fight directly, then we will see who is the better warrior when power and strength are equal. It was a challenge to Lummoth's pride. The greatest warrior in the galaxy, reduced to a choice between exhaustion and fair combat with a human. Lummoth's energy form solidified into his normal shape. The spikes disappeared. The plasma blades faded. Very well, human. We fight with skill alone. Both warriors stood and faced each other. Lummoth's energy form was dimmer now, but still deadly. Hyunwoo was exhausted and burned from the heat, but still determined. They fought for 20 more minutes, not with overwhelming power or impossible speed, but with pure technique. The tournament continued for 5 more days. Hyunwoo advanced through each round, defeating opponents that should have crushed him easily. A Vorthak scout who could move faster than the eye could follow. A Theran warrior who could generate plasma, hot enough to melt steel. A massive Kralix champion who had never lost a fight. Each victory was different. Each opponent required a new strategy, but the pattern was always the same. Hyunwoo would study his enemy, find their weakness, and use it against them. By the semifinals, the entire galaxy was watching. News reports from across known space carried the same story. A human warrior from an unknown world was defeating the galaxy's elite fighters. Military leaders were demanding information about Earth's combat capabilities. Scientists wanted to study human physiology. Politicians were asking if Earth should be considered a potential threat. But in the arena preparation room, Hyunwoo was focused on only one thing: his next opponent. Zixara is different from the others you have faced, So-min said, reading from her tablet. She has been watching your fights, learning your patterns. Zixara was the Vorthak champion. She had 4 arms, each ending in claws that could cut through metal. Her insect-like legs could launch her across the arena in a single leap. Most importantly, she was intelligent. Unlike previous opponents who had relied on natural advantages, Zixara had adapted her fighting style specifically to counter human tactics. She knows you will try to tire her out, So-min continued. So she has been training for long fights. She knows you will try to dodge her attacks, so she has been practicing combination strikes that cover multiple angles. Hyunwoo nodded. He had expected this. As he advanced through the tournament, each opponent would be better prepared. The element of surprise was fading. There is something else, So-min said quietly. The news reports about you have reached Earth. Your government wants to speak with you after the tournament. What do they want? They want to know if you are in danger, if Earth is in danger. They are asking if humans should prepare for war. Hyunwoo considered this. He had come to the academy as one person seeking to prove himself. But somehow, he had become a representative of his entire species. The weight of that responsibility was heavy. Semi-final match, the arena announcer called. Zixara of the Vorthak versus Hyunwoo of Earth. The arena was packed beyond capacity. Beings who could not get seats watched on screens throughout the station. The betting was intense, but for the first time, significant money was being placed on the human. In the VIP section, alien military leaders watched with serious expressions. The Vorthak High Command had sent their best generals to observe. If Zixara lost, questions would be asked about Vorthak military superiority. The 2 fighters met in the center of the arena. Zixara towered over Hyunwoo, her 4 arms making complex gestures as she limbered up. Her compound eyes reflected the arena lights like black diamonds. I have studied you, human, she said, her voice like clicking metal. Your tricks will not work on me. I hope not, Hyunwoo replied. Tricks are boring. I prefer honest fights. Zixara was confused by this response. She had expected fear or boasting, not calm acceptance. Begin, Veltar shouted. Zixara exploded into motion immediately. Her legs launched her across the arena in a blur of speed. All 4 arms struck at once, claws extended, aiming to end the fight in the first exchange. But Hyunwoo was not there. He had not dodged to the side as expected. Instead, He had dropped flat to the arena floor and rolled forward, under Zixara's leap. As she passed overhead, he struck upward with both feet, hitting her in the abdomen. The impact sent Zixara tumbling across the arena. She landed hard but recovered quickly, spinning to face him with all 4 arms ready. "Clever," she admitted, "but I have 3 more arms than you. You cannot dodge them all." She attacked again, this time staying grounded. Her 4 arms moved in a complex pattern, creating a web of slashing claws that covered every escape route. Yunwu did something unexpected. Instead of trying to dodge, he moved straight toward her, weaving between the claws like a dancer moving through falling rain. One claw caught his shoulder, tearing his training shirt. Another grazed his cheek. But he kept moving forward until he was inside her reach, where her long arms could not strike effectively. At close range, Hyunwoo's human flexibility was an advantage. He could bend and twist in ways that Zixara's insect body could not match. His strikes were short and precise, targeting nerve clusters that would numb her limbs. Zixara tried to back away to regain fighting distance, but Hyunwoo stayed close. When she leapt backward, he followed. When she tried to circle around him, he turned with her. "Stop running," she hissed, frustrated that she could not use her reach advantage. "I am not running," Hyunwoo replied. "I am hunting." The crowd was mesmerized. They were watching a completely different type of combat than they had ever seen. Most galactic fights were decided by who could hit hardest or move fastest. But this fight was about position, timing, and strategy. For 30 minutes, the 2 fighters moved around the arena in a deadly dance. Zixara would try to create distance, Hyunwoo would close it. She would attempt combination attacks, he would weave through them and counter. Gradually, Zixara's movements became less precise. Her breathing was rapid and shallow. The constant motion was exhausting her, just as it had exhausted Hyunwoo's previous opponents. But Hyunwoo was getting tired too. His shoulders burned from the constant dodging. His legs ached from the quick footwork. For the first time in the tournament, he was being pushed to his limits. In the VIP section, the Vorthok generals were tense. "Zixara is our fastest warrior," one said. "If she cannot catch the human, who can?" "Perhaps speed is not the answer," replied another. "Perhaps we have been asking the wrong question. Instead of, how do we catch him, we should ask, how do we make him come to us?" Down in the arena, Zixara had the same realization. She stopped chasing Hyunwoo and moved to the center of the arena. "You want to stay close to me, human? Then come. But I will not move again." She planted her feet and raised all 4 arms, in a defensive position. Now Hyunwoo would have to attack her, and when he did, she would be ready. The arena was silent. Everyone could see the tactical shift. The hunter had become the hunted. Hyunwoo circled Zixara slowly, looking for an opening, but she had learned from his previous fights. Every angle was covered, every approach was blocked. Minutes passed. The crowd grew restless. Some began to think the fight would end in a stalemate. Then Hyunwoo did something that shocked everyone. Sat down in the middle of the arena, cross-legged, and closed his eyes. The crowd erupted in confused noise. Zixara stared at him in disbelief. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Resting," Hyunwoo replied without opening his eyes. "My grandfather taught me that sometimes the best action is no action. This is not meditation time. This is combat." "Yes, it is. And combat is not just about moving. It is also about thinking." Zixara was furious. The human was making a mockery of the fight. She charged forward, all 4 arms striking downward at his sitting form. Hyunwoo's eyes opened at the last second. He rolled backward, just out of reach of her claws. As Zixara's arms hit the metal floor where he had been sitting, he sprang forward and grabbed one of her wrists. Using her own attacking momentum against her, he pulled her off balance and threw her over his shoulder. The move was so smooth and unexpected that even experienced warriors in the crowd gasped in appreciation. Zixara hit the ground hard but rolled to her feet immediately. However, something was wrong. One of her arms was hanging limply at her side. "My wrist," she said, looking at her numb limb in shock. "Pressure point," Hyunwoo explained, getting back to his feet. "My grandfather learned it from studying nerve maps. That arm will be useless for about 10 minutes. Now the fight was 3 arms against 2. The advantage was still with Zixara, but it was much smaller. You planned this, she realized. The sitting, the meditation, it was all to make me charge, recklessly. Sometimes the best trap is the one that looks like giving up. They fought for 10 more minutes. Zixara was still faster and stronger, but with one arm disabled, she could not maintain her defensive web. Hyunwoo found openings that had not existed before. He did not try to disable another arm. Instead, he focused on her legs, using precise strikes to target her balance and mobility. Each hit was small, but together they added up. Finally, Zixara stumbled during one of her leaps. It was only for a second, but it was enough. Hyunwoo caught her ankle as she landed and used a wrestling technique to sweep her remaining legs. Zixara fell backward, her remaining good arms flailing for balance. Before she could recover, Hyunwoo had moved behind her and applied a chokehold that cut off blood flow to her brain. Yield, he said quietly. Or sleep. Zixara struggled for a few seconds, but she could feel consciousness slipping away. I yield, she whispered. Hyunwoo immediately released the hold. Zixara gasped and coughed as blood flow returned to her brain. Winner, Hyunwoo of Earth, Veltar announced. Finalist. The arena exploded in noise, but it was not the confused murmuring of previous fights. It was genuine amazement. The human had defeated the galaxy's fastest warrior. As Hyunwoo helped Zixara to the medical station, she asked the same question that all his defeated opponents had asked. How? You are? 2 months had passed since Hyunwoo's arrival at Nexus Prime. His daily fights with different alien students had become the most watched events in the academy. He had won some and lost others, but every fight taught him something new. Today was different. Today was the start of the Galactic Combat Tournament. The main arena was huge, with seats for thousands of spectators. Students from the academy filled the lower sections. In the higher seats sat warriors, diplomats, and military leaders from across the galaxy. They had come to see the next generation of elite fighters. Hyunwoo stood in the preparation area with the other tournament competitors. Only the top 50 students from the academy had qualified. He was ranked 47th. Look at them all, So-min whispered. She stood beside him as his trainer assistant. I have never seen so many important people in one place. The arena's screens showed the tournament bracket. Names and pictures of all 50 fighters appeared in a tree pattern. Hyunwoo found his name at the bottom, matched against Crixon, a mid-level Kralix warrior. This Crixon is known for defensive fighting, So-min said, reading from her information tablet. He is not as strong as Torval, but he is much more careful. He does not make mistakes easily. Hyunwoo nodded. He had studied videos of Crixon's previous fights. The Kralix warrior was smart. He waited for his opponents to attack first, then countered with precise strikes. Many fighters had exhausted themselves trying to break through his defenses. First match, announced the arena's voice system. Crixon of the Kralix versus Hyunwoo of Earth. The crowd made noise, but not the excited cheering that other matches received. Most spectators were curious about the human, but they did not expect him to last long. In the VIP section, alien military leaders were making bets. How long will the human survive? Asked a Vorthak general. 30 seconds, 1 minute? I give him 2 minutes, replied a Theran admiral. He has shown some skill in academy fights, but this is different. Real combat pressure. A Kralix commander disagreed. The human is weak, but he is tricky. Maybe 5 minutes before Crixon figures out his patterns. Down in the arena, Veltar was speaking to both fighters. Standard tournament rules, he said. Fight continues until one yields, is knocked unconscious, or cannot continue. Killing blows are forbidden. Crixon stood 8 feet tall, his stone-like skin covering powerful muscles. He looked down at Hyunwoo with calculating eyes. I have watched your academy fights, human. You rely on speed and endurance, but I am patient. I can wait longer than you can move. We will see, Hyunwoo replied calmly. The two fighters moved to opposite sides of the arena. The floor was smooth metal with no obstacles or weapons, just two warriors and their natural abilities. "Begin," Feltar shouted. The crowd expected Hyunwoo to move immediately, as he had in previous fights, but he did not. He stood in the center of the arena, completely still, watching Crixon. The Kralix warrior was surprised. This was not the humans' usual pattern. Crixon had prepared for a fast, mobile opponent. Instead, Hyunwoo waited like a statue. Seconds passed. The crowd grew restless. Why was nobody fighting? Crixon made the first move. He walked forward slowly, his heavy feet making the arena floor vibrate. His fists were raised, ready to block or counter any attack. Hyunwoo still did not move. When Crixon was 10 feet away, he stopped. Something felt wrong. The human was too calm, too relaxed. It felt like a trap. "What are you waiting for?" Crixon called out. "Fight me." "I am fighting you," Hyunwoo replied. "I am just not fighting the way you expected." This confused Crixon. He had trained his whole life for direct combat, charge, defend, counterattack. But the human was not following any pattern he recognized. The crowd began to whisper. In the VIP section, the military leaders were confused too. "What is the human doing?" asked the Vorthak general. "Psychological warfare," replied an older Kralix veteran. "He is making Crixon nervous. Doubt is a weapon." Minutes passed with both fighters circling each other slowly. Crixon kept waiting for Hyunwoo to attack so he could counter. Hyunwoo kept studying his opponent, looking for the perfect moment. The crowd was getting impatient. Some started calling for action. But in the VIP section, experienced warriors were watching more carefully. They could see the mental battle happening between the fighters. Finally, Crixon's patience broke. He charged forward with a powerful, straight punch aimed at Hyunwoo's chest. Now Hyunwoo moved, but not to the side as everyone expected. He moved forward, inside Crixon's reach. The Kralix warrior's fist passed over his head. Hyunwoo struck upward with his palm, hitting Crixon under the chin. It was not a devastating blow, but it snapped the alien's head back and made him stumble. Before Crixon could recover, Hyunwoo grabbed his arm and used the alien's own momentum to throw him to the ground. It was a jujitsu technique his grandfather had taught him. The crowd gasped. The small human had thrown the much larger alien. Crixon rolled and got back to his feet quickly. He was not hurt badly, but he was shocked. How had the human gotten so close without being hit? "Impossible," he muttered. "You were too far away." "Distance is an illusion," Hyunwoo replied. "My grandfather taught me that. While you were thinking about how far apart we were, I was thinking about how to close the gap." Crixon attacked again, this time with a series of punches and kicks. But Hyunwoo was no longer where he expected him to be. The human moved like water, flowing around the attacks instead of blocking them directly. Each time Crixon missed, Hyunwoo struck back. Small hits to pressure points, quick strikes to joints and weak spots. None of them did serious damage, but they added up. More importantly, they were exhausting Crixon. The Kralix warrior was using huge amounts of energy with each attack. Hyunwoo was using much less energy to dodge and counter. The fight continued for 20 minutes. The crowd was silent now, watching something they had never seen before. The smaller, weaker fighter was wearing down the larger, stronger one. Crixon's movements became slower and sloppier. His breathing was heavy. Sweat dripped from his stone-like skin. Hyunwoo looked tired too, but he was still moving smoothly. His human endurance was built for long contests. "How are you still standing?" Crixon gasped between attacks. "Humans are persistence hunters," Hyunwoo replied, dodging another punch. "On Earth, we used to chase animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would catch them." The meaning was clear. Hyunwoo was not trying to knock out Crixon with one big hit. He was hunting him, slowly wearing him down until he could no longer fight. Crixon tried one final desperate charge, putting all his remaining strength into a massive overhead strike. If it connected, it would end the fight. But Hyunwoo had been waiting for this moment. As the Kralix warrior committed to his attack, Hyunwoo stepped to the side and struck Crixon's extended arm at the elbow joint. The alien warrior's arm went numb from the precise hit. His attack missed completely, and his momentum carried him forward into the arena wall. Crixon slumped against the wall, his legs shaking with exhaustion. He tried to raise his arms to defend himself, but his body would not respond. "I yield," he said quietly. "Winner, Hyunwoo of Earth," Veltar announced. The arena was completely silent for several seconds. Then the noise began. Not cheering or booing, but confused murmuring. The spectators were trying to understand what they had just seen. In the VIP section, the military leaders were no longer making jokes about the human. "Fascinating," said the Theron admiral. "The human did not win through strength or speed. He won through strategy and endurance." The Kralix commander nodded grimly. "We have underestimated this species. If one human can do this, what could 1,000 do?" Down in the arena, Hyunwoo helped Crixon walk to the medical area. The Kralix warrior was exhausted but not seriously injured. "You fought well," Hyunwoo said. "No," Crixon replied. "You fought well. I just fought the way I always fight. But you fought like nothing I have ever seen." As they reached the medical station, Crixon had one more question. "Human, are all your people warriors like you?" Hyunwoo thought about his answer. "We are all survivors. Some of us choose to become warriors." The tournament bracket updated on the arena screens. Hyunwoo's name moved up to the next round. His opponent would be announced tomorrow. But something had changed in the arena. The laughter was gone. The jokes had stopped. For the first time since arriving at Nexus Prime, the aliens were looking at the human with something new in their eyes. Not respect yet, but not dismissal either. They were beginning to understand that they might have made a mistake. A very dangerous mistake. 3 weeks passed. Every morning, Hyunwoo was first in the training hall. Every evening, he was last to leave. The aliens had stopped laughing, but they still did not take him seriously. He watched them train. The Kralix students focused on power moves. They practiced breaking thick metal plates with their fists. They lifted weights that could crush a car. Their training was all about hitting harder and stronger. The Vorthak students worked on speed. They moved so fast the eye could barely follow them. They practiced cutting targets with their claws in split seconds. Their training was about being faster than the enemy could react. The Theron students studied energy control. They made plasma balls that could melt steel. They learned to change their body shape like liquid fire. Their training was about using power that other species did not have. But Hyunwoo's training was different. While they practiced the same moves over and over, he studied videos of alien combat. He watched how each species moved. He learned their patterns. He saw their weaknesses. Kralix warriors were incredibly strong, but they were slow to change direction. Once they committed to an attack, they could not stop easily. They also got tired quickly after using their full strength. Vorthak fighters were lightning fast, but they attacked in straight lines. Their speed came from momentum, which meant they had trouble with unexpected obstacles. They also needed time to recover between their fastest attacks. Theron warriors had amazing energy powers, but those powers took concentration. If they were surprised or confused, their control would weaken. They also had to rest after using too much energy. "What are you doing?" Somin asked one evening. She found Hyunwoo watching combat videos instead of lifting weights. "Learning," he replied. "My grandfather said that knowing your enemy is half the battle, but you should be training your body, getting stronger." Hyunwoo paused the video. It showed a Kralix warrior punching through a stone wall. "I will never be as strong as that, no human could be." He started another video. A Vorthak cut through 3 metal targets before the first one hit the ground. "I will never be that fast either." A third video showed a Theron melting a tank with plasma fire. "And I will never have power like that." Somin looked confused. "Then, how will you fight them?" "By being something they do not expect." He closed the videos and opened a different file. "This is combat footage from Earth." The new videos showed humans fighting, not training. but real combat from Earth's wars. Soldiers moving through jungles, Marines fighting in cities, Special Forces operations in the dark. Look at this, Hyunwoo said, pointing to the screen. This soldier is surrounded by 5 enemies. He cannot outrun them or overpower them. In the video, a human soldier was trapped in a building. Enemy fighters were closing in from all directions. Instead of fighting them head-on, he did something unexpected. He set the building on fire and escaped through the smoke while his enemies ran from the flames. He used the environment as a weapon, Hyunwoo explained. Humans do this all the time. We adapt. We use whatever we can find. He showed her more videos. Humans winning fights by using broken glass as weapons. Soldiers defeating larger enemies by making them fight in narrow spaces. Warriors turning their opponent's strength against them. These aliens train to be perfect at one thing, Hyunwoo said, but humans train to survive anything. So-min was quiet for a long moment. You think you can beat them by being unpredictable? I think I can beat them by fighting like a human instead of trying to fight like them. The next morning brought a new type of training. Veltar announced that students would practice combat in pairs. Choose your opponents, he said. Fight until one yields or cannot continue. The aliens quickly paired off. Kralix fought Kralix. Vorthak fought Vorthak. Theron fought Theron. They wanted to test their skills against similar opponents. Hyunwoo stood alone. Human, Veltar called. You need a partner. Torval stepped forward. I will fight the human, it will be quick. Other students gathered to watch. They expected to see Hyunwoo crushed in seconds. The fighting area was a circle marked on the floor. No weapons allowed, just natural abilities. Torval stepped into the circle, his massive form casting a shadow over Hyunwoo. Try not to die. Too quickly, Torval said. I want the others to see. Hyunwoo said nothing. He moved to the center of the circle and took a simple fighting stance. His grandfather had taught him boxing, jiu-jitsu, and taekwondo, but more importantly, he had taught him to think. Begin! Veltar shouted. Torval charged forward like a living boulder. His fist came down like a hammer, aimed at Hyunwoo's head. But Hyunwoo was not there. He had moved to the side at the last second. Torval's fist hit the floor instead, cracking the metal. The Kralix warrior was off balance for just a moment. Hyunwoo struck. Not at Torval's body, which was armored like stone. He hit the back of the alien's knee where the armor plates met. It was not a powerful blow, but it hit the right spot. Torval stumbled but did not fall. He turned and swung his arm in a wide arc, trying to catch Hyunwoo with a backhand. Again, Hyunwoo was not there. He had ducked under the swing and moved to the other side. For 5 minutes this pattern continued. Torval would attack with devastating force. Hyunwoo would dodge and strike at weak points. The Kralix warrior's armor protected him from serious damage, but dozens of small hits were starting to add up. More importantly, Torval was getting tired. His massive strength required huge amounts of energy. Each missed attack drained him more. Hyunwoo was tired too, but he was used to long fights. His human endurance was built for this. The watching aliens began to mutter among themselves. This was not how fights were supposed to go. Where was the quick victory they expected? Torval's attacks became slower and wilder. Frustration was making him careless. He put everything into one final charge, trying to tackle Hyunwoo to the ground. Hyunwoo waited until the last second, then dropped and rolled to the side. Torval could not stop his momentum. He crashed into the wall behind where Hyunwoo had been standing. The impact shook the whole room. Torval slid down the wall and sat on the floor, dazed and exhausted. Yield, Veltar called. Human wins. The training hall was completely silent. Hyunwoo helped Torval to his feet. The Kralix warrior was twice his size, but he accepted the help without anger. How? Torval asked, still breathing hard. I am 10 times stronger than you. Strength is not everything, Hyunwoo replied. My grandfather taught me that the river always defeats the rock, not by being stronger, but by never giving up. Zixara stepped forward. Her claws were extended, ready to fight. I will not make the same mistakes, she said. I will be too fast for your tricks. Tomorrow, Veltar announced. Enough surprises for one day. As the students left the training, Hall Hyunwoo noticed they were looking at him differently. Not with respect yet, but not with mockery either. He had proven that he could not be dismissed easily. Lummoth floated beside him as they walked. You fight strangely, human. Is this how all your species battles? We fight to win, Hyunwoo replied. However we can. But you did not really hurt. Torval. In a real fight he would recover and crush you. Hyunwoo stopped walking. In a real fight I would not be limited to hand-to-hand combat. I would use weapons, traps, the environment. Whatever gave me an advantage. He looked around, at the alien students. You all trained to be honorable warriors, but humans trained to be survivors. That evening, So-min found Hyunwoo in the training hall. He was practicing movements from the fight, but slower and more carefully. What are you doing now? She asked. Learning from my mistakes. The fight with Torval showed me what works, and what does not. You won. What mistakes did you make? I wasted energy on hits that did not matter. I took too long to find his weak points. I let him dictate the pace of the fight for too long. Hyunwoo continued his slow practice movements. Tomorrow I fight Zixara. She will be faster and smarter than Torval. So-min sat down to watch him train. Do you really think you can beat her? I think I can surprise her. And sometimes a surprise is enough. He practiced until late into the night, preparing for a fight that would be unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The aliens expected him to fight like them, but he would. Fight like a human, and that would make all the difference. The alarm rang at 5 in the morning. Hyunwoo was already awake. He had been thinking about his grandfather's stories. The old man had always woken up before dawn to practice. The early bird catches the worm, he used to say. But the early warrior catches victory. The training hall was empty when Hyunwoo arrived. He began with basic stretches, then moved to simple exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, running in place. Nothing fancy, but it warmed his body and cleared his mind. Other students began arriving an hour later. They looked surprised to see him already, training. The pet is awake early, Zixara said to her friends. Does someone need to feed him? Torval laughed. Maybe he is trying to grow bigger, but humans cannot change what they are. Instructor Veltar entered the hall. His heavy footsteps shook the floor. Today we begin real training, he announced. First test, strength measurement. He led them to a machine that looked like a metal tree. Students had to grab the branches and squeeze as hard as they could. Numbers would show their strength level. Torval went first. The machine groaned under his grip. Red numbers flashed, 8,947. Other Kralik students cheered. Zixara was next. Her forearms grabbed different branches. The numbers showed 4,231. Good, but not as high as the Kraliks. Lummoth floated up to the machine. His energy hands formed around the metal. The numbers climbed. 6,789. The Theron students glowed brighter with pride. Human, Veltar called. Your turn. Hyunwoo walked to the machine. The metal branches were cold and smooth. He wrapped his hands around one branch and squeezed as hard as he could. The numbers flashed. 423. The room went silent for a moment. Then the laughter started. 400, Torval roared. My little sister is stronger. Maybe the machine is broken. Zixara clicked her claws together. Nothing could be that weak. Even Veltar shook his head. Human, this is worse than I expected. You are weaker than our cleaning robots. But Hyunwoo was not looking at the strength numbers. He was looking at something else on the machine's display, a small line that showed grip duration. While the aliens had squeezed hard for a few seconds, his readout showed he had maintained his grip for much longer. Next test, Veltar announced. Speed and reaction time. This test used a wall of lights. Students had to touch each light as fast as possible when it turned on. The lights would flash in random patterns, getting faster and faster. Zixara went first. Her forearms moved like lightning, touching each light almost before it appeared. Her final score, 47 touches in 10 seconds. Torval was slower but still impressive. 23 touches in 10 seconds. Lumith's energy arms could split and multiply. 39 touches in 10 seconds. Hyunwoo stepped up to the wall. The lights began slowly. He touched each one as it appeared. The pattern got faster. His arms moved in steady rhythm, never panicked, never rushed. Final score, 31 touches in 10 seconds. Better than expected, Veltar admitted, but still last place. The aliens were not laughing as much this time. 31 was not embarrassing. It was just normal. Last test for today, Veltar said. Endurance run. 5 kilometers around the station's outer ring. Gravity will increase every kilometer. They moved to a long track that curved around the station's edge. Windows showed the stars outside. At the starting line, Veltar held a timer. Begin! All the students started running. The aliens quickly pulled ahead. Torval's heavy steps pounded the track. Zixara's insect legs carried her in long leaps. Lumith floated just above the ground, moving like flowing water. Hyunwoo settled into a steady pace behind them. He had learned to run long distances in Earth's mountains. His breathing was calm and even. After 1 kilometer, gravity increased. Some students slowed down. Hyunwoo maintained his pace. After 2 kilometers, gravity increased again. More students were breathing hard. Torval was still in the lead, but his steps were not as fast. By 3 kilometers, half the students had stopped to rest. The gravity was now twice Earth normal. For the aliens, this was very heavy. For Hyunwoo, it felt like carrying a heavy backpack during training. At 4 kilometers, only 12 students were still running. Torval was walking now, his big body struggling with the weight. Zixara had slowed to a careful walk, her breathing sharp and quick. Lumith was still moving, but his bright energy was dimmer than before. Hyunwoo passed 3 students who had collapsed from exhaustion. His legs burned, but he kept the same steady pace he had started with. His grandfather's voice echoed in his mind. Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. At the 5-kilometer mark, only 5 students finished the run. Lumith was first, but barely. His energy form flickered like a dying light. 2 Kralik students finished second and third, both gasping for air. Hyunwoo finished fourth. The training hall was quiet when they returned. Students who had not finished the run looked embarrassed. Those who had finished looked exhausted. Except Hyunwoo. He was tired, but he was not gasping or shaking like the others. Interesting, Veltar said, looking at his timer. The humans' heart rate is already returning to normal. Somin approached Hyunwoo with a water bottle. How do you feel? She asked quietly. Tired, but good, he replied. I could run it again if needed. She stared at him. Really? Maybe not as fast, but yes. Across the room, some of the alien students were watching him differently now. Not with laughter, but with confusion. How could the weakest student in strength testing finish fourth in endurance? Torval walked over, still breathing hard. Human, I do not understand. You are weak, but you do not quit. Strength is not just about muscles, Hyunwoo replied. My grandfather taught me that. What did he teach you? Zixara asked. She had been listening from nearby. He said there are many types of strength. The strength to lift heavy things, the strength to move fast, the strength to keep going when others stop. Hyunwoo looked around at the tired aliens. The strength to never give up. Lumith floated closer. His energy was brighter now that he had rested. But strength in lifting is most important in combat. How will you fight if you cannot break your enemy's weapons? How will you fight if you cannot outlast your enemy? Hyunwoo replied. This made the aliens think. In their worlds, fights were usually quick and brutal. The strongest or fastest warrior won in minutes. The idea of a long fight was strange to them. Veltar was writing notes on his screen. Human, your test results are unusual. Lowest in strength, average in speed, but highest in endurance and recovery time. He looked up from his notes. I have trained thousands of warriors. I have never seen scores like these. Is that good or bad? So-min asked. I do not know, Veltar admitted. Human abilities do not fit our normal patterns. The training session ended. As students left the hall, Hyun-woo noticed something different. A few aliens nodded to him as they passed. Not with respect, but not with mockery either. More like curiosity. Torvald stopped before leaving. Human, I have another question. Yes? On your world, are all humans like you? Hyun-woo thought about his training partners back on Earth. Rangers who could march for days without rest. Soldiers who fought in conditions that would kill most. Creatures. Pilots who stayed calm when their ships were falling apart. Some are stronger, he said. Some are faster. Some are smarter. But yes, most are like me in one way. What way is that? We do not break easily. Torvald nodded slowly and left without another word. So-min waited until they were alone. You did well today, she said. Better than I ever did. It is only the first day. Yes, but something is different. When I was here, they laughed at me. Every day until I left. Today, they stopped laughing. Hyun-woo looked at the empty training hall. Tomorrow would bring new tests and new challenges. The aliens would push harder, trying to find his breaking point. But his grandfather had taught him something important. The bamboo bends in the storm, but it does not break. Be like bamboo. He was beginning to understand what the old man meant. The aliens were looking for him to break or quit. They expected him to fail like So-min had failed. But what if he did not break? What if he did not quit? What if he kept bending until the storm passed? The answers would come in time. For now, he had survived his first day. That was enough. The massive doors of Nexus Prime slid open with a deep hum. Hyun-woo stepped through, carrying a small bag over his shoulder. The space station was bigger than anything he had ever seen. Long halls stretched in every direction. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. Other beings walked past him. Some had 4 arms, others had scales that glowed in the light. A few looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. They all stared at him as he passed. Most of them smiled, but not in a friendly way. Hyun-woo was human. He was 22 years old and had trained with Earth Special Forces for 5 years. His black hair was cut short. His body was lean and strong, but next to these aliens he looked tiny. Look at that, said a voice behind him. Earth sent. It's a baby. Hyun-woo turned around. A huge creature stood there, twice his height. Its skin was thick and gray like stone. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. This was a Kralix warrior. I am Torvald, the creature said. I have broken mountains with my hands. What can you break, little human? Other aliens gathered around to watch. A insect-like being with 4 arms clicked, its claws together. Humans are so soft, it said. I could cut one in half without trying. That is Zixara, Torvald explained. She is Vorthak. Very fast. Very deadly. He laughed. But she will not need to be fast with you. A third creature floated toward them. It looked like it was made of blue light that moved like liquid. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music. I am Lummoth of the Theron people. I can burn metal with my touch. What power do humans have? We run fast, someone called out. The aliens all laughed. Hyun-woo said nothing. His grandfather had taught him to listen first and speak later. These creatures wanted him to get angry, but anger was a tool, not a master. A voice boomed across the hall. New students report to the main training room. The crowd of aliens moved down the hall. Hyun-woo followed. The training room was huge. Weapons hung on the walls. Training areas were marked on the floor. At the front stood the biggest Kralix that Hyun-woo had ever seen. I am Instructor Veltar, the giant said. His voice was like rocks falling down a mountain. I have trained warriors for 300 years. I have seen every type of fighter in the galaxy. His yellow eyes found Hyun-woo in the crowd. Except humans. This is my first human student. He paused. It may be my last. More laughter from the other students. Each of you will be tested, Veltar continued. Strength, speed, combat skills. The weak will be sent home. Only the strong will join the Galactic Combat Academy. He pointed to different areas of the room. Kralik students go to strength testing. Forthak go to speed testing. Theron go to energy testing. His claw pointed at Hyunwoo. Human goes to basic fitness. The aliens laughed again. Basic fitness was for the weakest students. It was where they put those who could not pass the real tests. Hyunwoo walked to the basic fitness area. A small robot waited for him there. Please step onto the platform, it said. The platform was metal and cold under his feet. Lights began to scan his body. Numbers appeared on a screen. The robot made clicking sounds. Height, average for human. Species, the robot announced. Weight, average for human species. Muscle mass, average for human species. Everything average, Torval called out. How boring. At the strength testing area, Kralik students were lifting massive weights. The metal bars bent under the pressure. At speed testing, Vorthak students moved so fast they looked like blurs. At energy testing, Theron students made bright lights dance in the air. Hyunwoo finished his basic fitness test. The robot gave him a number, 347. It meant he was ranked 347th out of 350 students. Only 3 students scored lower than him. Veltar looked at the results on his screen. He shook his massive head. Human, you are in the lowest training group. You will train with the other weak students. What other weak students? Asked Zixara. There are none, Veltar replied. He trains alone. The laughter was louder this time. Some students pointed at him. Others just shook their heads like they felt sorry for him. A human female walked up to Hyunwoo. She had been watching from the side. I am Somin, she said quietly. I work here as a trainer assistant. She was older than him, maybe 30. Her eyes were kind but sad. I was a student here once, she explained. 3 years ago. What happened? Hyunwoo asked. I was sent home after 2 weeks. Failed every test. She looked around at the alien students. They said humans are not built for war. They walked to a quiet corner of the room. Somin showed him a small training area with basic equipment. This is where you will train, she said. Alone. Hyunwoo looked at the simple weights and training mats. The alien students had advanced equipment that could change gravity or create energy shields. His area looked like a basic gym from Earth. Why did you stay? He asked Somin. Someone needs to help the next human who comes here, she said. I hoped there would be a next human. I hoped they would be better than me. She handed him a schedule on a small screen. Your classes start tomorrow. Combat basics, physical training, survival skills. She paused. They are all beginner level. Hyunwoo looked at the schedule. While other students learned advanced combat techniques, he would learn how to fall without getting hurt. While they studied weapons of war, he would learn basic first aid. Do not let them break your spirit, Somin said. Humans have something these aliens do not understand. What is that? Hyunwoo asked. We do not give up. She smiled for the first time. We are too stupid to quit when we should. The training session ended. Students began to leave. Many passed by Hyunwoo's corner. Some made jokes. Others just stared like he was something strange in a zoo. Torval stopped in front of him. Human, I have a question. Yes? When you fail and go home, will you tell other humans not to come here? It would save everyone time. Lamith floated over. Perhaps humans could be useful in other ways. Cleaning floors, serving food. Simple. Tasks for simple minds. Zixara clicked her claws. I heard humans keep other animals as pets on their world. Maybe we could keep this one as a pet too. The 3 aliens laughed and walked away. Other students followed, leaving Hyunwoo and Somin alone in the big room. They do this to every human, Somin said. They did it to me. They think we are toys for their amusement. Hyunwoo picked up his bag. My grandfather fought in 3 wars, he said. He told me that the enemy always makes the same mistake. What mistake? They judge you by what they see, not by what you can do. So Min nodded. Your grandfather sounds wise. He also said that a smart fighter learns from everyone, even his enemies. Hyunwoo looked toward where the alien students had gone. Those three just taught me a lot about themselves. What did you learn? Torval is proud of his strength, but he talks too much. Pride makes fighters careless. Lumith thinks his power makes him superior, but he looks down on others. Arrogance makes fighters stupid. Zixura tries to scare people with threats, but she felt the need to prove herself to the others. Fear makes fighters weak. So-min stared at him. You learned all that from one conversation? My grandfather also said that listening is the greatest weapon of all. They walked toward the doors together. Tomorrow would bring the first real training. Hyunwoo knew it would be hard. He knew the aliens would laugh at him again. But tonight, for the first time since arriving, he smiled. The aliens had made their first mistake. They thought he was just another weak human. They had no idea what humans could really do when they stopped playing by other people's rules. The doors of Nexus Prime closed behind them with the same deep hum. But something had changed. Hyunwoo was no longer just a small human in a big galaxy. He was a warrior who had found his first advantage. He would need many more.